John and I first met probably in the late 1980s at Friends Provident in Guildford, and then we worked together on and off over the years. He went to work for a firm of advisors in Abingdon, and I went to work for a firm in Witney.
Funny enough, I'd worked with Dom in a previous life. We'd lost touch with each other, if you like. I was working for probably more of a traditional type financial planning firm. I was enjoying that, but I always felt like there was a little bit more to financial planning than what we were doing. It was very traditional, it was very product-led, it was about sales and things like that.
Where I was working, it was an independent financial advisor firm within an accountancy practice, where the accountants called the shots. Although I didn't know, what great financial planning looked like at the time, I knew that it wasn't that.
We just happened to bump into each other in Witney, didn't we? And we'd lost touch with each other since we'd been working at Friends Provident, and one thing led to another.
I think from that first sort of chance encounter, we decided to go and have a curry and a proper catch-up, and as things do over a curry and a few beers, one thing led to another, and we ended up thinking, well, here's a good idea, why don't we do this? And the concept of the firm was founded then. We wanted to be in control of our own destiny, and we wanted to set up, in those days, what we wanted to do was have a great independent financial advisor firm that was ours and that we could control and do properly.
And I think that was the beginning of our journey, of the motivation, if you like, to set up Expert Wealth Management. I don't think at that point in time we had a clear vision of what the core would look like. One thing we was very motivated.
So yeah, that chance encounter and a curry, and here we are 21 years later. I couldn't tell you exactly when we got to the point where it was a proper business, but I think now we're a proper financial planning firm, and that sort of being a proper financial planning firm sort of started in 2010 when we were the first Oxfordshire firm to be a chartered firm, and then there's just been a gradual evolution of the service over the years since then, hasn't there?
I remember two key events. I remember 2007-08, where we got quite a lot of phone calls at that point. But it was the first time we'd coached our clients through a big market fall, if you like, and we got a lot of phone calls during that time. I certainly felt, whilst we might not have dealt with it straight away, our whole way we deal with clients, investments and their money started to change at that point. We started to realise how important client education was around that, and how having a sort of a really simplified approach to managing money, one that clients could understand, one that they could understand from a long-term perspective, was really critical. Fast forward to the COVID crisis, our clients have now really understood our approach. They really understand. They've done their fire drills, if you like, already before that came around. Whilst we still did get a few phone calls from clients, they already knew what the answer was, and they had so much more peace of mind around their money, because we'd taken the time to educate them and look after them in terms of how they look after their money.
Working with Albion Strategic, Tim Hale, on evidence-based portfolios, going through the George Kinder life planning process, learning better listening skills, better questioning techniques was influential as well, significantly so, and introducing Voyant as a cash flow modelling. And then moving here, working with Brett and being here.
It's sort of a rural location, actually out on a farm, and it's lovely and tranquil here. All our clients love coming to our offices, spent a lot of time thinking about our office space.
We've come on, massively in that period. We've more or less doubled in size over the last 7 years or so, and we'll probably do that again in the next 5 to 7 years.
The one thing that's always been central to us is how do we best serve clients? How do we ensure that our time is best spent with clients, looking after clients and dealing with them? I think you're right, we were starting to find ourselves, like the pure act of managing portfolios, a bit of a distraction away from our core mission, which is just to make sure clients that they're looked after like they're part of the family, that we're giving them a great sense of peace of mind and freedom in their lives. And that requires time with them. And I think what we always wanted to do is make sure our team's time is concentrating on those types of activities.
Whether you do life planning, values-based planning, goals-based planning, whatever you want to call it, that's all nonsense and doesn't matter. It's about doing proper financial planning. That's the transformational bit, that's the important bit. it doesn't feel right to us to sell out to a consolidator. You know, we've known some of our clients, the people that are in this afternoon, I've known him for 25 years, but you know, he was a client at my previous firm. And some of John's clients are the same, you know, he's known them for 25 years as well. The thought of looking them in the eye and saying, you know, thanks very much, but we're off and we've sold out to, you know, this massive firm and they're based in wherever, miles and miles away, with no financial planning in terms of the way we do it, with a totally different culture and set of values. It just doesn't feel right to us at all. So we've been working on this succession plan, and at the moment that looks like, you know, for want of a better term, a management buyout at some point. When, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of water still to go under that particular bridge, but that's what we're building towards.
We'll always say to clients that ultimately we will want to do the very great work that we've done for all our clients, and because one of our core values is around family, we want to make sure those clients are continued to look after in the same way in which they've been looked after all these years. Really our next step, if you like, at Expert Wealth Management is really to bring that younger team through, build them into becoming great advisors of the future and being able to look after the families that we've looked after over the years.